So hi, this is Troy from Cube.Dweller.Fitness. I've got Jason Wood here. He's a ZHealth trainer from Denver, and we're going to talk a little bit about what ZHealth is and then how that relates to snow sports because, well, I live in the Rockies and I can smell the snowboard wax already. And so I'm a little anxious, and I'm hoping you other people really get some tips out of this and we get to learn more about what ZHealth is. So Jason, why don't you just give us a little background?
Yeah, thanks, Troy. Like you said, I'm actually a ZHealth master trainer. Currently, I'm actually the only one in Colorado who is certified, so to speak, to teach the ZHealth curriculum.
Nice.
On top of that, I'm a American College of Sports Medicine health fitness specialist. I'm also a certified Russian kettlebell instructor through the RKC. I'm a International Youth Conditioning Association Level 1 fitness specialist. And I got a bunch of other initials after my name.
That's a nice list.
Yeah. There is I was a typical trainer. I was just like you. I was just like people watching. For about 8 or 9 years, I did the personal training thing. I'd be a trainer. I'd go there. I'd count your reps. I would put you on the foam roller. I'd give you a stability ball. I would do this. I would do that. And there was always a kind of question in my mind as if what I was doing was actually effective and working. So about 2008, after I was in RKC, I got exposed to something called ZHealth. And ZHealth for me was actually the period on all the substances I was asking. What do I mean by that? It was everything that I thought I knew was not wrong, but I wasn't looking at it the right way, and that's through the neurological lens. And ZHealth allows me to actually talk to a person's nervous system using modern sport and neuroscience as the conversation piece.
Cool. Yeah, the little bit that we talked about it, what was really drew me in and wanted me to learn more about ZHealth is that it was very holistic. Maybe I don't know if that's the right term, but instead of just looking at strength or just looking at cardio, just looking at diet, which are the typical three people look at, that's so much looking at just the physical, not really looking at our whole mental system and how those systems are being driven. And it seems like ZHealth, like you said, is the period at the end of those sentences.
We need to actually focus on three distinct kind of higher order systems, okay? And that's going to be our visual system, our vestibular system, and our proprioceptive system. Okay? We actually call these in ZHealth the neural hierarchy. And if you think about it, falling is top priority from a survival standpoint. Pretty much everyone should be able to agree with that, right? I don't want to fall, okay?
Yep.
Now, how do you dictate what steps to take? You have to see it. Mm-hmm. So I have to see a curve that I can step over. Now, with seeing it comes okay, how far away is it? Is this 9 steps? Is this 12 steps? Is it a big step? Is it a small step? Is it a small drop? Is it a big drop? What am I going to do after I step? Do I have to step off the curb, walk across the street, oh crap, there's a car, backpedal, step back on it backwards?
Sure.
These are real things that people do all the time.
Yep.
What we try to do in ZHealth is we try to go, hey, let's be deliberate about training these various systems through different drills and assessments. Okay. And that's probably a better, accurate description about things that we try to look for in the ZHealth curriculum.
Cool. That helps. Now, I know you talked about some drills or some other things we could explore, and I couldn't help when...
I'm not a physician. I'm not a neurologist. I'm not a athletic trainer, okay? I'm just a high-end, well-educated fitness person, okay?
Nice. Fair.
So when I use the terms neurology, I'm talking about this from the very basic, fundamental level of understanding that our thoughts, our muscles, our actions, what about stretching? Okay, let's use stretching as a classic example, okay?
Okay.
Years ago, it was thought that if your hamstring was sore, you had to do some static stretching in order to fix it. If you're in the PT world, they might do something called PNF, which is 3 really long words put together. It's proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Or maybe you had to
say that 3 times fast, right?
Yeah. Or maybe you had to do some other form of things, somebody having their hip here and they're doing a bunch of weird drills. Now, if you actually look at the anatomy and physiology of muscles are innervated by what? nerves.
By your nerves, yeah.
Okay, nerves cause muscles to fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Calcium, they release, and then these things slide, and it creates a big physiological thing. Now, if they're governed by nerves, where do nerves live?
Throughout your body, but they're going through your spinal cord.
Spinal cord. They branch off. They branch off in things called plexuses, right? And your upper body has something called your brachial plexus, which innervates mostly your upper body extremities. And then your lower body, you have something called your lumbar plexus, which is waist down.
Sure.
Kind of an easy, kind of gross overview of this stuff, okay? So let's say, it's pretty simplified, right? Yeah. So let's say I'm having a pressing issue with a kettlebell in my hand, and I can't do a good military press because maybe my deltoids aren't strong, okay? Looking at neurology, the nerves that innervate the muscles, it's called your axillary nerve, okay? And its nerve root is C5 and C6, okay? So theoretically, I should be able to come up with drills or mobility stuff to help mobilize my neck, to help mobilize the shoulder, to help make that press easier.
The visual system is in preventing falling. I'm picturing, am I on a groomer out at Keystone where it's just packed snow, or I'm in the back bowl where there's some powder, and when I fall, it's a little less of a concern. I can just roll out of it. But it's interesting how, in each of those situations, I'd be watching for different things. Is there a rock ahead, or where am I on the groomer? Where do I have space? Are those the right types of things, or did I just start daydreaming more about the snow sports?
Well, daydreaming about snow is never a bad thing, Troy. And no, those are absolutely right. Now, what you need to worry about or think about is the easy one that you stopped thinking about. So you're going down the bunny slope, and you've been down there 1.5 million times. That's where you're going to run into problems because you may not be paying attention. Yep. You may not be paying attention as much as you would if the cost was more high, if the cost was higher.
Sure.
Kind of makes sense.
Kind of go into auto drive.
Right, yeah, exactly. And that kind of goes back to classic motor learning. This whole thing of we go through 3 distinct changes of motor learning based upon how many repetitions we've gotten in. So the first one's going to be cognitive. Okay, this is typically in your 1 to 1,000 rep range. First time you do something, you drive a car, it's kind of, whoa, what do I do here? It's gas, brake, you don't know what to do.
Sure.
Then over time, you start associating, hey, if my left foot goes down, I stop. If my right foot goes down, I go faster. So then it starts to become associative. Mm-hmm. After that, things become autonomous. This is where you get in your car, you got coffee, cell phone, you're reading, you're texting. I mean, you're multitasking, but you can still get the job done.
Yeah, you didn't really say you were texting and driving, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Head piece.
But I completely understand what you mean. We get so used to it. For me, I used to play a ton of hockey. I grew up in Minnesota. We had ice in the backyard that we shoveled before the driveway. Okay, we had good ice.
Yeah.
And I played defense, so I skated low, hit hard. That's why I have neck issues, right? But as I got older and we got into no checking leagues, I couldn't play because it was so automatic for me. If you put your head down and go around the outside, it's just an invite for me to let you go sailing. Yeah. And I couldn't shut that off, even though I knew. I'm like, all right, I can't check. Head down, go around me, autopilot kicks in. And it's just like you talked about. It's all those movements that we've done so many times. It's like the body kicks into that auto drive again and says, I know this. I've done this before. And click.
Yep. Now, where you run in, where that becomes a problem is if your mechanics in that movement are wrong or funky.
Yep.
So let's say every time you go to do a ski jump or you go to do a half pipe or you go to do something, some kind of trick, you get your head cocks to one side. Mm-hmm. Or your knee buckles, or something happens that wasn't there in the beginning.
Okay.
All of a sudden, it kind of goes back to the whole thing we talked about earlier about something feeling we were brushing your neck earlier before we started recording.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you're wasting energy and concentration doing something that doesn't need to be done to get the job done. So in essence, you become less efficient. Now, if we're talking about efficiency, we should talk about the definition of efficiency from a ZHealth standpoint.
Okay.
And that is, efficiency is doing just the right thing at just the right time with just the right amount of energy. If I'm trying to throw a ball and the person's right in front of me, I don't need to throw it hard, right? It's not going to be efficient if I wind up really big and then create this big, long thing. I don't need to do that. I could probably just lob it to them and still get the job done.
Unless it's dodgeball.
Unless it's dodgeball, right? I just can't dodge it. Right? So it's, especially with ski sports, some of these people have been, how long have you been doing snow sports for?
Oh, snowboarding maybe 8 years, something like that.
Okay, 8 years. How many, on a good season, how many runs do you think you make going up and down the slope?
Oh, man, I have no idea. We've been out here 2 years. In the last 2 years, I got out to the hills 18 times each season.
Okay.
And so, these aren't Minnesota runs with just a little bit of elevation. We have some nice hills to play on out here. Yep. I think on a good day, let's say 10. And so that's 180 a season. If each of those are good, solid days, you just stand on the slopes, not going into the chalet much.
Yep.
That's probably on the upper side for a weekend warrior like me.
At those 180, well, how many of those runs did you get down to the end and you were like, that was the run? Everything was lined up. I loved it. Everything felt smooth. Everything was right where you needed to be.
I think the quest for that is what keeps you going.
Okay. Now, what if you got down and you actually gave yourself a performance review on how you did at the end? Man, that was really good. I noticed that when I tried to lean forward, my weight actually shifted from the middle of my foot to the front of my toe, which may not be the best thing for me to try because the next thing I need to do after that part is do something opposite.
Yep.
You don't think about that, right? Or you don't think about, wow, it was cool. I had to really shift my weight, and I got into this kind of weird lunge position. So the whole thing is to always be cognitive about the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
Mental checklist of toes to nose. And that's the proprioceptive part of the proprioceptive system that we were talking about in regards to the neural hierarchy. Knowing where you are at all times, because you're already getting in information. We just have to accept it and be willing to take it in and then express the information we're getting.
Cool. Now, in your experience, again, in different things I've done in the past, I've all kind of counted on seeing video of myself to know where I'm at.
Yep.
When you've trained people in ZHealth, do you count on that, or do you count on more self-awareness of toes to nose? Which is most effective?
It's actually both. We actually have an advanced course coming up in December called Skill and Style, which is going to be using a large amount of video analysis and doing slow motion replays and starting and stopping. The cool thing with that is you can do side to side comparisons on where you are and where a professional is, and you can go, okay, what is the professional doing here that I'm not doing with their body? Because you have the same amount of joints that he does. You're in the exact same position, and you should be able to do what he does if you train it. If we were to look at pictures of snowboarders, okay, what you'll actually see if you look at them is a collection of small movements that are going to make up the big gross movement you're looking at. Mm-hmm. Okay, and what I mean by that is hey, their ankle's going to be doing something, their knee's going to be doing something, their hip's going to be doing something, their trunk's going to be in a position, their head's going to be in a position, their limbs are going to be in a position, and they're going to be looking in a direction.
Sure.
If you can figure it out and figure out the elements that make up the skill you're trying to do, you can actually train those elements together and create a chunk of that movement. So when you actually comes to be showtime, it's familiar and you've been there before.
So it's really analyzing it and then visualizing before you're going through and doing it. Is that, to use different terms, is that really what you're saying?
Yeah, of course. The vision part is huge if you're good at it.
if you're good at visualizing it, or what do you mean?
I'm cruising, I look awesome, there's a bunch of chicks behind me. That's probably bad visualization. I mean, it's good visualization, yeah, but it's bad in the sense that you're not going to get better at your skill.
Yeah.
What this really is, okay, cool, you're on your board, you get in your position, you go, okay, my big toe needs to be in what position? Where's my knee? Where's my foot? Where's my hip? Okay, I need to be looking here, and then maybe doing some drills. We have a bunch of visual drills that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe doing visual drills in that specific position to make sure that you can actually see what you're looking at. Because at high speeds, you're going down a slope or a hill, you're doing anything, you need to go, where am I in what, was that a tree or was that somebody just knocked out, right? You have to know where these things are at all times. So that's kind of where that neural hierarchy comes from, is our eyes need to talk to our balance system, which is our vestibular system, which is talk to our proprioceptive system to tell us where we are. Yeah. And if one of the systems gets overloaded or underworked, the other two get really, really mad at it, and just bad things start to happen. Injuries, chronic pain, poor performance, things that should be avoided. If people would just spend a few extra minutes in the beginning or the end of their training session doing some visual drills, working on your balance, figuring out where your elbows are and stuff like that. And this, we're not talking Bosu balls here. We're talking legit stay on the ground. You're not a circus performer. We don't live on unstable surfaces. People say all the time, well, what about, I'm a surfer? And I go, yeah, surfboard's still flat, bro. All right, surfboard's still flat. Right? It ain't round, okay? You don't have to worry about it, So it's really bizarre that what people think is proprioceptive training. Mm-hmm. Constantly getting in proprioceptives, we're getting in, there's mechanoreceptors, there's chemoreceptors, there's a bunch of different receptors that we're getting in all the time. It's up to our brain to differentiate what do I need to do with this information? Is this a good signal or is this a bad signal?
Yep,
and if you have a good filtration system, sort it out. And if you have a good filtration system, you can pick up the visual. You can take, I'm going to take a little bit of visual information, a little bit of balance information, a little bit of proprioceptive information, and create a really nice picture or a map on where I am. So there are certain assessments that we could do to make sure that your body is actually doing those things whenever you look in those positions.
Sure.
Okay? Now, if you don't have a ability to do with the Z trainer, there are some self-assessments that you can do. Self-assessment 1 would be this. If you were to go up into shoulder flexion, so bring your arm back over your head as high as it goes.
Okay.
Okay? And you got to judge about where it gets stuck, right?
Yep.
Okay, now come out of it slightly. Now, because it's a shoulder flexion, we should look down. So keep your head straight, eyes down, and then see if you can go back further.
Feels like it.
If you saw it, go back and watch this on video. Big difference. Which sides?
Cool.
Which sides? You got to make sure you're even, right?
Yeah.
So there, your eyes down. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, that one I can feel the difference a lot more.
But the other thing too is to add in, whenever people are doing training, functional. You're a snowboarder. You're a skier. Got to get functional, right? So you got to do a unilateral kettlebell Bosu inverted core workout. Okay. What about this? What about to make it functional? That people actually did 5 to 10 minutes of vision training and mobility work, full ski outfit, prior to them actually getting on the slope.
Yep.
So twice a week, you actually wear your helmet, you got your goggles on, and you're doing vision drills.
Nice.
That is functional, because now it's not a threat. The thing about this is 180 times you've been on the slope. How many hours do you think? So you went up there a total of what, 10 times you said?
18 during the season, yeah.
18 during the season, and that was an all-day event?
Yep.
Okay. So how long did you wear your helmet for each time? Your helmet and goggles?
Pretty much the most of it. We didn't take a lot of breaks, so most of the time it's on while we're there.
Cool. In your regular everyday life, how much training do you do at home, just practicing getting used to having your head smushed in with goggles like this? How many times do you do that?
Yeah, it doesn't really happen much. My family might say that would be different, but
yeah. What?
What's up, Dad?
You're really
I'll freak people out at work when I'll just show up with the helmet and the glasses and I love my Burn helmet and my ZHealth Optics goggles, but I think they'd look a little bit odd in the Cube.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's really interesting is whenever we compress the head, it actually does things to the cranial system. Okay? There are sutures or joints in the midline of the body that, if they get closed, they tend to have really bad ramifications on anything midline, core strength, so to speak. This is kind of the whole principle behind cranial sacral therapy. And this is not a debate. Some people say, well, they don't really move, or they do move, or they don't. All I know is this. If I have athletes who have weak stomachs, weak cores, chronic lower back pain, I can give them a couple of cranial drills, and they do them actively, their pain goes away. Muscle strengths are stronger, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, debate it or not, if you get some results, it's worth trying, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, whether or not, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, because that's really the big thing with ZHealth is individualized health and performance.
Cool.
You shouldn't have to read Ski Magazine and do their workout because their workout may not work for you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It really individualized health and performance are really going to be what it kind of boils down to. And that has to start with you as an individual and as a person, or whoever's watching this. It's their responsibility. It's not the trainer's responsibility for you to be healthy. That's the biggest. It's not. It's not my problem. It's not your problem. It's their problem.
Yeah, they got to choose.
They got to choose, and they got to do it. Now, they have to do it actively. That's really what we try to preach is active mobility, right? This whole thing of, hey, move your wrist, move your neck, blah, blah, blah. If you can move joints yourself, chances of you having any problems are going to be severely limited.
Cool. So that's some good background to kind of give us just a little glimpse of ZHealth. I get the impression that we've hardly scratched the surface, that there's a ton there that we could dig into, but to try and keep this focused, I think that's a good teaser to help us really want to know more, and hopefully viewers, as they hear us and they see some of these exercises, have their interest piqued as well. But let's do two things. I know you had some sites you want to point us to, and I'll put those in the blog post and the notes below. But if we think of the cubicle dwellers, right? It's Cube.Dweller.Fitness. So I'm a weekend warrior. We're spending time in our office. We spend a ton of time sitting down. It's been a long time since we've been on the slope. We just haven't been out there. What are some takeaways, some practical tips that we could leave viewers with that they could do that would prepare them for that first time they actually get out and play in the snow?
Yeah, excellent. One, I think, is to do the drill in the video below. I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to go in the video below.
That one.
Point down here. In this video right here, it's... you're going to have a lot of editing to do.
No, we're going to keep that in. The other thing I've wanted to do is go like this and say there's a link right here.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll do that on the YouTube. We'll keep that in there, so we'll put a little link to another video.
Yeah, okay. So anyhow, if you can do, one is to check out what's called a middle toe pull or toe pull. We'll shoot a video this weekend of actually showing what those drills are.
Nice.
The drills below, do those drills just a couple times throughout the day, but with these drills is you can't try to make up for lost time when you get to the slope.
Yep.
I always think, I'm going to catch up on some reading today. Like, what are you going to do? Read an encyclopedia? Like, to catch up for the past 20 years, you're going to read thousands. You don't catch up on things. You either do it or you don't.
Yep.
Okay? This stuff should be done prior, a couple weeks to you getting on the slope.
Okay, perfect.
The first one's going to be some foot drills to do. They're called ankle tilts and toe pulls. Okay? Those are probably better ones to add in. Second one is going to be the two visual drills that we're going to add in. One is going to be a hand-eye foot coordination chart, and the other one is going to be called a pencil push-up.
Nice.
What you should be hopefully working on is feeding the sensory part of your brain to help feed the motor part of your brain, so when you actually do have to make a decision to be coordinated, your brain's kind of working the way that it should be.
It's already primed.
It's already primed. Exactly.
Yep.
That's a great way to put it. This stuff is brain-based training for the 21st century. Something I should have said a while ago. I'm coming to it now, It usually takes like an hour to warm up. Now I'm like, all right, let's start talking. I'm ready.
Nice.
But
this has been great.
Something. Yeah. And like I said, this is me talking. This is not a I wrote down a couple things, and this is me being kind of all over the place and being the fitness fast, and this is why I'm talking to you right now and not at a desk in a tie, because that's just not me. It's not me. I'm luckily not a cube dweller. I'm a movement dweller. I can just move whenever I want, which is pretty fun.
Well, I think that's one of the things where I think this video is going to be helpful, because there are a lot of us that are cube dwellers, but we're also very active, and we long to be active and want to do it in a way that when we do get out and we're the weekend warrior, that our brain is already engaged and going to be ready for those activities. And it sounds like spending some time with the exercises that we're going to show up with the video and the other information along with this, that are going to help.
Yeah, the ZHealth website has tons and tons of videos on it for people to look at too.
Cool.
There's also a YouTube page. The website's ZHealth.net, and it's different. There's really no other way. It's different. A lot of people have said they've never seen anything like it before, which is awesome, because anything that goes against the grain, I'm all for.
Nice.
It's really interesting though, because a lot of people, when they work in offices, the typical excuse is, "I don't have time to train." Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've heard of it. I don't have time.
Yep.
Think this: do you have, Troy? Do you or people have a minute, an hour to stop, be present, and focus on doing a couple drills?
Definitely.
Okay. Now, you work a typical 8-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's 8 minutes. 8 times 5 is 40. That's actually 40 minutes of concentrated training you can get in a week by spending 1 minute an hour stopping, standing up, being present, and doing some drills.
Nice.
That's huge. Now, add in their high payoffs, it equals recipe for success.
Yeah, the payoff is huge, because not only does it help in our ongoing training, but if you look at the studies around concentration, even though when I'm trying to focus in on some work, the brain needs that break to get up, to move, to think of something different. And so not only helping for the fitness on the outside, but it's also helping so when we turn around, even if it's just a minute later, to come back, it's surprising how much fresher we come back. And there's some awesome research to back that too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's really, the take-home for all of this, in between the theory, because that's really what a lot of this was, the take-home of it is that you have to be able to move well, and you have to be able to move often to reach your goals. Okay? Any goal you want to do is achievable if you understand what goes into making that goal happen. Now, whether it's a movement thing or a coordination thing or it's a whatever kind of thing that it is, it's a skill, and skills can be learned.
Yep.
Anybody can learn it. You just have to put the time in to do it.
I like that. Move well, move often to achieve your goals. That's perfect.
Yeah, those are really, that's a huge, huge thing that I don't think people get. Well, I'm just going to work out. No, you're not just going to work out. You're going to hurt yourself. You're not just working out. Like, I'm just going to do a bench press. Yeah, I'm just going to lay on my back with 135 pounds and just go like this a bunch of times. Because why would you not think about that,
Great point. Well, Jason, I want to thank you for taking time to do this, and let's see what kind of reactions we get. People, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a like button. See, we get to do that again. There's a like button down there. Press the like button. Leave us some comments. Head over to the blog. We're going to have some more information there for you and give you some links to ZHealth and how you can get in touch with Jason if you have some more questions. But thank you a lot for your time, Jason, and look forward to doing this again. Thanks.
Cool, thanks, sir.